Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to week 5 of our Dream Big Book Club. It's been a great time being with you these past 5 weeks, our past 4 weeks. We're on to week 5. And this week, we're talking about landing the plane. We've been talking about our goals over the past month, and each week, identifying what they are and why they're important to us, and some of the challenges and obstacles we faced along the way, and how to get some ourselves turned around so that we can be headed toward reaching those goals. And part of that is landing the plane. So Bob wants us to stop talking about what you want to do someday and just start by doing something. So that's where our focus is going to be today, how we can get this plane landed. Because we've been flying around. I think about it like hovering O'Hare Airport, right? And with all of our dreams up there in our mind, and then we just never land the plane, get on the ground, and boots on the ground and get it done. And so years go by. Am I right? Like the days are long and the years fly by. I look back to what I took. It took 17 years for me to remodel our home. When I came in the house, we bought the house 22 years ago. We modeled 5 years ago. So when we first came in to this home, I hated the wallpaper on the walls in the kitchen. It was like a pink and blue, light blue flower. It looked like it should be in a bathroom or something. I don't know. It was in 1998. And I loved the house, but I hated the wallpaper. And I was like, this wallpaper is going to be off the walls within 2 weeks, or I'm going to die trying. And I was 8 months pregnant, so that didn't happen. However, it took 17 years before we took that wallpaper off the walls in my kitchen. We ended up, tried 4 or 5 times, but we always had another baby and had another issue, and it was excuses and obstacles. But I learned that through this process, that if we don't stick to it, to our dreams and plans, they'll just go and bypass us. Time's going to go by. The sun's going to come up and the sun's going to go down every day. And it rises and sets on our dreams, whether we're working on our dreams or not. So that's life. So I learned that way. And 5 years ago, we finally did remodel and we gutted the majority of our home. And it's beautiful now. And I love it. And the first thing, I was in tears when we did the walkthrough at the end, like we were finally had arrived. And what an amazing feeling it is to be able to have a home that you love, that you can entertain in, and everything opens up, including your business for sure, because now you have a place that you're not embarrassed of, that I was for so long. But I just was kicking myself for not doing it sooner. So it's always that hindsight's 2020, right? So we're going to talk today about landing the plane. So follow through can be hard for all of us, but there comes a point in any endeavor when you've done all the research, all the reasons why, felt all the feels, done all the envisioning, all the path clearing, and you just need to move forward. So Bob's saying, this book study has attempted to help us answer the 3 important questions. Who are you? Where are you? And what do you want? So now it's time to act on our answers, right? It can be tempting to continue to do these activities that keep you flying high with excitement and fresh adrenaline, and planning and imagining and talking and speculating, searching and finding. They're all parts of the process. But eventually, like I said, we have to make our ambitions concrete, and we got to land that plane, so that all the passengers and all the parts of our dreams can get into action. So that's where we are today. And Bob talked in the book, and I'm sure he'll talk in the video. I don't know. I haven't seen it. But he's going to talk about that ground effect where you're hovering right before the plane goes bam on the runway. That's where we are now. Like we are on the verge of stepping into our dreams and making them happen. So putting him into action often feels like that ground effect. It's not always going to be smooth. He says the things in our overhead compartments shuffle around as we land, and it's okay. But we want to get started on real steps that force us into our dreams, because if we don't do it, it's going to be like my kitchen remodel, right? That we're going to be 17 years later, we still didn't write that book, or we still didn't make that rank, or we still didn't open our gift shop or the bakery that we wanted to run, or whatever your dream is. So we just want to get into action right away. And I talked to Bob last night because in the study guide, it says this was the assignment, was chapters 30 and 31. Did we talk about that last week? And there are no chapters 30 and 31 in the book. It stops at 29. So as the leader, was a little bit befuddled. So I was like, wow, I'm going to call him, and not to embarrass him, but I want to ask him, like, what would you do, Bob? So last night it was 7:45, and I was thinking, okay, I know he's on the West Coast, so it's 5:45. I could call him in the morning, but it could be for him. I probably shouldn't do. I should just email him like Francine did. Oh, I'm the leader. I need to call him. Step into your power, Pam. Right? And I'm like, I open up the book and I'm like, what the heck? Tammy said he answered the call from the stage. He's going to answer my call. He said he would. So I called the number and I talked to him for about 7 minutes. It was good. He's like, hello. And it's his voice on the phone. And you're like, hey, Bob. I feel like I know him, don't you? And I'm like, hey.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, Bob. I said, my name's Pam Carey. I live in Chicago and I've been leading your book club for the past month, and we're at the end. Tomorrow's the last day, and I ran into this problem with these chapters that don't exist in your book, and I'm wondering what I should do about that. And thank you, Laura. She's saying that's great in the chat box. Good for you. And I go, I just don't know what to do. And I've never written a book, but I have friends who have, and I know that when they go to the publisher, they tend to change things and things get shifted around. So there was just a miscue where they trimmed the book down to 2 chapters. They didn't do this. Maybe they eliminated the last part and turned it into questions on page 215 and on. Whatever they did, he didn't tell me. But he said it didn't get over into the study guide part, right? So I'm sorry, but you tell your group this, and this is your message from Bob. He said, chapter 30 is wash your car, because everyone should have a clean car after this, especially. You can wash the car of your partner in the book and through the book study. You can wash the car of your leader. I'm gonna go work all across the country, so we're just gonna have to wash our own cars and do that and feel good and proud in our clean car. And chapter 31 is make a pie, because everyone loves pie. And couldn't you just hear him say that, like, a way to a man's heart is to his stomach? And when does a man turn down a piece of pie? Never. So wash your car and make a pie. That is what Bob said. He also told me that I told him that Isabel had seen him at Malibu, Beyond Malibu, the Young Life Camp in Seattle. And he's like, oh yeah, Beyond Malibu, I was there. And he's like, I got to get back there. But I told him a little about her and how she introduced me to this line of books and how I gave her the books, his other 2 books, Love Does and Everybody Always, for her birthday. And I put him in a box with some other things. And she was like, oh, you got me the books. She goes, but I wanted the hardback books. Paperback. So it was a halfway fail, but that's okay. And have I told him that they have a book called Everybody Always for kids?
Mhm.
And that's a really cool one. This is his Everybody Always book, but they have a version like this, and it's all like a rainbow colored, black and white, a rainbow colored cover, and it says in small letters under there, for kids. And I'm going to give that to some kids that I kind of look after. And I think I talked to him about that, and he said, yeah, it's somewhere from, you got to go somewhere beyond The Very Hungry Caterpillar into like my adult books. So he wanted to have something for the in between of that. So if you have kids that are at that in between age, that might be a great book, made for kids.
Did he give an age range?
No, and maybe we could look that up, but I don't know that. He didn't say. So it's past The Hungry Caterpillar. I can tell you that. So he also said that he turned his manuscript in for his next book.
Okay.
And it was due on March 1st at midnight, and he turned it in at 2 a.m. So he was late, but it still happened. And so I patted him on the back for that. And he said it's going to be, he's not certain on the title yet. I love how this book stuff goes down. But he said it's going to be something about being distracted and focusing on the distractions in life. And I said, yeah, we all have some version of ADD or ADHD.
Yeah, can we get an advanced copy of that one? Since
It's going to be a great self-help book. So as soon as we get it, as soon as it's available, we're going to reconvene on another book club with that. So he wished me, he thanked me for the group. He said to say hi to all of you. And I just thought it was cool. We talked for about 7.5 minutes on the phone, and he was all it, just like he should.
He should call the book Squirrel.
So we'll see what he ends up with. But I just wanted to tell you about that was a bold move for me. And I was really happy that I did it, because I was just sitting in my family room and I thought, you know what the heck? So
See, that being a bold move for you.
well, I don't know. Yesterday I don't know. I was like, this is weird.
I wish I'd have gotten a hold of him. He must have been out of the country when I called, because I got his secretary 3 or 4 times. But
Yeah, you have to call him probably after office hours, and he picks up the phone because he's
well, no, I actually got a message that he was out of range of the phone, so he was
in Somalia or something, right?
He might have been at one of his schools.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. So I just wanted to share that with you and wanted to thank you for being here with us this week, if you're on the live or if you're on the recording, whatever. It's been really fun. It was one of my goals in life to lead a book club, and I was only in one in my life, and it was on the phone. It was never video. So this was really a challenge for me, and it was fun. I am reluctant to read because I usually fall asleep when I'm reading. So audiobooks are kind of better for me sometimes, or I don't sit down enough to take the time to read. And this has really helped me to do that. So I want to thank you before we do our last session here. I want to thank you for being here every week and making time. And I hope you're benefiting as well as I am. So thank you for that. We're going to jump over and have Nicole talk a little bit about setbacks, and then we're going to watch the video. So that's
Okay. Well, a big thank you to Pam for putting this together. Great job, Pam. This has been awesome. I'm sure everybody has learned a little bit from this. I know I have in a big way. And it has forced me to take the time to read and reflect, and which has been really, really great. Thank you so much, Pam. This is awesome. So I just want to touch base on our assignment from last week and about our setback site. And if you went back to a setback site, or if you experienced a setback site, I personally went back to my grandparents' home, and wow, I was not expecting my reaction. But when I pulled up in front of their home, which it was their dream home, it was a ranch, and they built it when it was, in these days, it probably been a $500,000 ranch. And my grandfather was the dairy farmer. My grandma was always cooking, cleaning, and then she worked at Sears part-time, hardworking grandparents. And when my parents got divorced, I went and lived with them for a year, and with my mom and my sister. And I didn't realize how cool their house was until I got older, and now I reflect back on that. But my grandfather sold the land that the house was on, and I don't know how many acres that was surrounded, but it was a farm. And their original farm was just down the street, where they raised, had dairy cows, and they also had corn and soybeans, and so big farmers. But he sold it to a gentleman that made a golf course out of the land. And they then had 5 years for the ranch home to stay in before they would move out. And so in that, now it is they tore down my grandma's dream home. And so now it is part of a golf course, the land, but there's still the driveway there, and there's still the lamppost. There's a long driveway down to this house. So and it's all gated. So you can't go up the driveway. So I sat in front of the driveway in my car, and I just bawled. I cry. I'm getting choked up thinking about it. And I'm like, why am I bawling? Because my grandparents were such a positive influence in my life at that time. My grandma was like my best friend. She did everything with me. We laughed. We had so much fun. And my grandfather was a fatherly figure for me at that time, because my dad was an alcoholic. And so he was touch and go. So I'm starting after I sat there and bawled for a while, I'm like, why am I crying? Because this is such a heavy place in my life. But I realized that, I'm sorry, it's hearing out talking about, that I never really had closure of my parents going through the divorce. And we never really talked about it. There wasn't counseling. I was in 3rd grade. So there wasn't counseling now, like where parents get divorced and they send their kids to counseling, and there's that availability. So, and when my parents got divorced, it was early in the 80s. And so nobody was getting divorced. And my mom was really scared to get a divorce. My grandparents told her to go back to my dad. And she's like, no, I can't do it anymore. So nobody was getting divorced. My mom felt like she was an outcast, and it was against her religion. And there was a lot of obstacles. So it wasn't about the kids at the time. It was more about my mom figuring out how to do it, right? And survival mode. But there was so many emotions there for me to go through, and I never really expressed them. I think that was the case. So they've been built into me. So I was totally releasing. And I'm telling you, it felt so good to do that and to recognize it. So did anybody else go to a setback site that they may want to share their experience or what they did through that exercise?
Mine's in California, so no, I didn't go.
I actually I'm crying already. I actually did that in 2019. And I wrote it all out, if you can handle me reading it.
Sure, I'd love for you to share that.
So this is what happened to me and then what I did with my heart. March of 2018. After 7.5 months of back pain, blood pressure bouts, nightmares, to peers not saying good morning, to being told there's rumors about me on Facebook, to sweaty palms on my commute, para support being removed from my room, and no time for a bathroom or lunch break. And then orders for my students to be sent back to their rooms when things arose, which is illegal. And no support from the principal, only blame. And then I had one major night of blood pressure trouble. I resigned from special ed teaching position, a position I'd worked for and did well at. And I knew that because I was doing well because my students lived up to the expectations given them. They enjoyed success and they surpassed classroom teachers' thoughts about their abilities. I had to leave to save my heart, to regain my self-esteem, to live to watch my family grow, to remember how loved and cared for by my creator I am. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I won't go back to that. I won't go back to that building, but I did go back to support one of my parents who was and is still battling cancer. I took my husband along for the fundraiser supper. There were some that said hello, checked in with how are you doing? I said good, as I was shaking inside. The pair hugged me and held on to me for a good 30 seconds, which very much surprised me. The superintendent came to me and met my husband and showed concern. Some reinforced that I wasn't to blame, but in hushed tones, so no one else would hear. The principal intentionally went out of her way to avoid me. So going back, I know I needed to face the people I worked with for my sake. But it still makes me sad to leave a career I made a difference for young children. Sad that the principal wouldn't even say hello. I felt sorry for her too. I've forgiven those who did actions against me for my sake, but my heart is still sad. Dear heart, even though you were not made right, God saw fit to prevent me from being a blue baby and deformed fingers and toes by growing extra pathways around my ribs to feed blood to my appendages. Your first fix was a new idea that worked great. I've tried my best to care for you through exercise and taking supplements and living fairly clean life. I managed to extend your life by 15 years than predicted. This gave scientists time to learn more and added on the plus 15 years with another fix of the most natural kind. I know you were upset when I had those extremely difficult students. I'm sorry I wasn't listening to you and others about the stress. Forgive me for not listening to you and my body. I'm usually better at that. It is time to beat to a new service for people, to listen to God, to have faith and trust with my new ambitions, you take care of me, and I'll do my best to take care of you. Mm, My go-to verse is Proverbs 4:23. Above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. And in the commentary in my Bible, it says, your heart is your feelings of love and desire. Make sure you sure to concentrate on those desires that will keep us on the right path. Make sure your affections push you in the right direction. Put boundaries on your desires. Don't go after everything you see. Look straight ahead. Keep your eyes fixed on your goal. And don't get sidetracked and detoured to sin. So,
Belinda, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that, I mean, I love how you came full circle, and it's about taking care of yourself, right? And sharing and taking care of your heart. I think that's very powerful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Wow, you did all the work, Belinda. You did the map, you put the map, you get like an A+ in this class. But you see,
well,
like, how
just
powerful you are, like now it's
just before we started this book club, I'm missing the people I worked with. I was there 10 years and I thought we were friends, and now they're not talking to me. And so I was getting pulled back into that. Feel sorry for me. So I had to remind myself that I did it for my heart and for my family. And I have to constantly remember why I had to give up that career that I love so much.
right.
Did they do something to you? What caused it?
Yeah, this is kind of public, so I don't, sure, but we had 40 students come into kindergarten, and 10 of them came in with behavior disorders. And there were more than that qualified for special ed, but these students came from horrific homes, situations, and they would beat on me, and the laws have been changed. Years ago, we used to go through programs where we could pick them up and move them to a safe place, whether they're kicking or screaming, and now we can't do that anymore. And so then we had to let them just sit and have their tantrum. And of course, out of the 10, I got the 5 worst ones. The other gal was a news teacher. And so, but the principal was fairly new. She had only been there a year or so herself. And when she came, she was in tears a lot, and she started confiding in me. And that relationship, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden that relationship went way sideways, like a 180. And I try and talk to her about, she told me to make some decisions. And when I went to tell her what I had decided to do with the students, she had already made the choice, and I didn't agree with it. And so I tried to go to her and talk to her, and she was too busy and didn't want to take the time. She told me that she's too busy, she's on the phone. And I had driven 40 miles to talk to her, and she said she had no time. So I wrote her a letter, and then she shared it to some people from where she came from, prior employment, and they told her that I should be fired for writing the letter.
Oh, jeez.
And from then on, it just went downhill. And I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating correctly. Thank God for Shaklee meal bars. That's what I lived on. Shake on the way there and meal bar as I was teaching. But day after day, these children would come it would be like 3-hour long bouts and they destroy rooms and it was just awful.
Oh,
And I was supposed to be able to fix it like that. And
Which is impossible.
yeah, well, and I get there at 6:30 in the morning and was there, so I had some quiet time so I could really plan out my days and keep up on the paperwork and as you know, teachers bring it all home. So I had paperwork to do when I got home yet, and so I was never had any downtime from that. But yeah, the stress, I ended up taking PT, trying to figure out what was going wrong with my back. That's how it started. And the spasms just wouldn't stop. And the gal, she goes, "You're a Christian, aren't you?" And I'm like, "What have I said or done that makes you think so?" She goes, "I can just kind of tell." But so she ministered to me when I went in and she says, "I think you really need to think about changing careers." And I was angry because I worked very hard. I worked full time, went to school online on dial-up to get my master's degree while raising 3 teenagers. And I thought, I worked really hard and I don't want to give it up. I love the kids, And so I just kept on, and then pretty soon I couldn't get my blood pressure to come down for like 5 hours one night, and I said, "I'm done."
Yeah.
But I should have said something sooner and did something sooner. But
Melinda, have you read the book? I think it's called "It's Not Supposed to Be This Way" by Lisa TerKeurst. Have you read that book?
I've heard of it.
You might want to get a hold of that because it's really good. It's funny. It's a book I've had in my possession for about 5 years. Started reading and it was like Greek, and I pulled it out again like a month ago, and it's like every word was written just for me,
The
But
timing,
but she she was going through. Well, she's possibly going through a divorce. Her husband, and she,
I know of her.
and then she had cancer. Anyway, all this stuff going on. So obviously not how she dreamed about her life, and it's all about how it's really about, quite simply, reframing what we're going through. Instead of saying we're going through a hard time, think of it as a holy time, because when, things I'm hearing you say are just really resonating with me, because my husband's a school superintendent and he just turned in his resignation. He's not going back next year. And he worked really hard to get his doctorate, and he, hopefully he'll have an opportunity somewhere else, but who knows? There's a lot of unknowns. And I say this very gently, but I don't mean this to be negative towards you in any way, but, part of that is our ego too, because we did work really hard for that. So, hey, I don't know, somewhere in our mind, we're like, I did really good here. I should fit in here. This should be still applicable to me. And it should. If we were in charge of the world, that would be fair and that would make sense. But like, God's logic isn't our logic. And she just does a really nice job of explaining that in the book, and how, like, when we're at our weakest, God is strongest, and he could really mold us like clay, to be more like Jesus. And it's just a really beautiful book. You might be inspired by it. I believe it's called "It's Not Supposed to Be This Way."
Yeah, I might even read that one. I have one of hers.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of reading, but thank you.
yeah, that's really good advice, Francine. And if you want to, can you type in Lisa?
I'll just type it.
Also, I think, the trials that we go through, like, this is a terrible situation to have to go through, but you come out so much stronger on the other side of it, and you're able to help other people. And it's, in some way, it's a journey that you had to go through that's God's making you travel so that you will be a help to somebody in the future that you wouldn't have been able to help as well if you hadn't gone through that journey. Yeah. But too, I think a lot of it can be considered a source principle.
Yeah, you know what, Belinda, I learned in my challenges and trials and tribulations in my life as a parent with struggles with my kids, that until you go through the valleys, you can't appreciate the view from the mountaintop, so all those things are lessons in strength building. And you are a very strong woman. I mean, I've known you before this book club, and you have always just oozed strength to me. And even though you appear weak sometimes and you ask me questions and you're not sure about social media or about your goals or what you're doing, if you're doing it right in Chapley and stuff, through all that, you're so strong. I want you to see yourself as that as well. And you've gone through these things. And I think I've said this before, that one of my favorite quotes from Nancy Reagan said it was, I think it came from somebody before her, probably somebody more famous like Eleanor Roosevelt or somebody who would be an awesome woman quote. But she said, women are like tea bags. The longer you keep them in hot water, the stronger they become. So like, bring it, right? And you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Your plan was to be a special ed teacher, but what if that wasn't his plan at all? He's reminded you 2, 3, 4, 44 times why this isn't working. So listen and follow, receive. All that's supposed to be that way because it's supposed to take you somewhere else. But like, you have an amazing, many, many years ahead of you to do amazing things. So don't lose sight of your dreams and feel like you failed in that, because that, like, it's not supposed to be this way, right? That wasn't where you were supposed to be necessarily. So your prayer might be to ask God to lead you, open those doors, like accelerate every area of my life, and like order my steps for your will. And I'm here, and use me and mold me for your purpose. And you're open and you'll feel better. You've been through a lot of horrible things. But you're stronger for it, and you're going to pay that forward to other people. So that makes you really attractive. And I hope that you can see that we see you.
I don't see that, but
I know that you feel small, but you're a powerful, strong woman because of all this stuff. You've been carrying rocks in your wagon for a long time, and they're not all your rocks, So put those rocks away. Give those rocks back to that principal. That's her thing. She's going to carry on life like that. That's not for you. You know what? Done. Boundaries for that stuff. And you gotta, look out for yourself. So I don't know. I just applaud you, Belinda. So thank you for sharing today.
Just not knowing the situation other than what you shared, that the principal was really feeling, if she has to come to you for helping her with her issues, she's feeling inferior to your strengths, and so she couldn't stand it. So she had to figure out a way to make herself look good and put you away.
and then I surprised her.
Well, there's no doubt when you came back, Belinda, there's no doubt she was intimidated. She was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
And what
Especially when everyone else was
she's gotta
visiting with me.
do
Yeah.
something big to
Mhm.
be.
That tells you something.
So you are rising higher. And it's not a scorecard and all that stuff, but you have to know in here that you're good.
And if the principal avoided you at this event, whatever it was, that tells you something about who she is.
Mhm.
All right.
Well,
so
and I want to
roll
share
that
too,
video.
Belinda, just that it's good to share. I just want to mention that I'm so sorry that you had to go through all that, because it's painful. And I think God uses these times to help us call out for lament. I mean, there is a lament of things that go on in our lives where we say, God, this is painful and I don't know why I'm in this. And, this is one thing that I was reading the other day. It says, in what ways are you tempted to spin, cover or your losses and miss God's deeper work in your interior? But just to even that you took the time to lament, your letter showed that, and just really grieve just the loss of things that happen. That's a really important part as we experience deep pain and things in our life. And it's all over the scriptures. So I want to encourage you that you're going through the process that it takes. It's not easy
Your letter is
to
beautiful.
work through this stuff.
Yourself.
Mhm.
I read a little thing that I put on a little stick-it note in front of my computer. It says, I choose to have faith and refuse to lose. I know a breakthrough is coming and my faith will not stop now. So you're at the edge of a breakthrough.
You're on the verge of greatness, Belinda. Okay, Suzanne, roll that video.
Did you share this? You let me share the
It's my fault. Wait, I gotta give you like permission. God,
Sorry I took so long.
only week 5. I should know by now. Oh, I'm sorry. You gotta share, not me. You can teach an old dog.
Okay,
You can teach an old dog new tricks. Are you good?
I'm good. I
Okay,
just need to cue it up.
Sorry, forgive me. I'm muted.
You guys, you did it. Way to go. This is our last session together. We have covered some ground over this thing. We started out with saying, what were your absurd expectations? What were some ambitions that you had? I hope you came up with a really long list, but I hope you vetted them. I hope you didn't compare them with other people's. I hope you compared them with your other ambitions to say, these are the ones that are actually the last. These are among the ones that were actually Jesus talked about in scripture. He said, these are the ones that he was interested in us doing, loving him, loving our neighbor, loving hungry people, thirsty people, sick people, strange people, naked people, people in jail, in James, widows and orphans, the fruits of the Spirit. You guys, if you're a list person, make your list. But if you're just a Jesus person that wants to make an impact, then don't just go around doing nice things, but just say, what's the return address on this thing? Why is it that I'm doing what I'm doing? And if you can find more than a foothold in scripture, I'm telling you, it's going to give you some of the assurance that you want. Remember a long time ago, we talked about looking at the miracles that Jesus did, not just the miracle, but what was happening around the miracle. Landing the plane is what we're going to talk about now. And it's going to take a load of authenticity to get there. It's going to take being vulnerable, hopefully with the people that are surrounding you in this group. And if you haven't gotten there, get there. Today's your day to talk about what's really going on in your life. I've been to Africa, I bet 20 or 25 times. I never take the malaria meds. I mean, like, what are the chances? You guys got malaria. Nearly killed me. It was awesome. I ended up in the ICU for 2 weeks. You know the great part about this? I lost 30 pounds. My next book isn't even going to have words, just going to have one mosquito with a virus. It'll bite you in the head, all gone. New York Times, 3P. But one of the things that I found after I got better from malaria is I got a bill. Do you know what? It cost more than my first 2 houses. And I could have avoided it with a nickel pill and half a glass of water. And some of the stuff that's wrapping you around the axle, some of the behaviors and activities that you're involved in that are screwing you up, you can avoid that easy. Stop having Bible studies about some of the things that you're doing. Just stop. Just like full stop. Skid marks. That's what it means to land the plane. To say, I'm not just going to dance around this thing. I'm not just going to find out more information. I'm going to start a couple things. I'm going to stop a couple things. That's where it gets really good. And I hope what you'll do is to find a couple ways to intersect one of the biggest ambitions that you've got, and that you'll take some steps. Landing a plane, if you've ever come on a commercial airliner, they'll come in over the numbers. And if you notice that they all kind of like hang about 10 feet over the runway, it's called the ground effect. And what happens is actually the wind comes off the wing, it hits the concrete, and it pushes up. And so what will happen is you'll drift along about 10 feet off of your ambitions. You've got to get the wheels on the ground. That's landing the plane. What's an ambition you've had? I don't care if it's a day, a week, or your entire life. What can you do to land that plane? What are the limiting beliefs that have kept you away from doing that? I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. It'll never work. I'm not loved enough. Let's just figure out what those are so we can get that plane on the runway, because you are here. You are the 38th miracle. We've been talking about the previous 37. I think God wants to do something amazing for you. I don't know what that'll look like, but I'll tell you, it'll look a lot like landing the plane, moving from the bleachers to the field, to say, actually, I'm not the smartest guy. I'm not the wisest guy, but I'm me. And here I am, and I've got an ambition, and I'm going to get after it. If you'll do that, things will start changing. One of the guys that became a friend of mine, he came to a Dream Big event that we had. He's actually a pediatric brain surgeon. Is that a crazy cool job or what? Here's the problem. He didn't like being a pediatric brain surgeon. What he wanted to do is be a children's book author. But he felt so conflicted in that he has so much knowledge and it could do so much good, but he just wasn't inspired by that anymore. He wanted to take a break, go write kids' books. You know what he did? He quit his job. He walked in, he said, I'm out. He moved his family to Hawaii. Do you know what happened when he got to Hawaii? And he gave me permission to share this with you. He realized it was his marriage that was in trouble. It was his relationship with his kids that was in trouble. He wasn't off of being a pediatric. He just realized when he got to a different place, a different setting, he could look at his life for the first time and with clarity decide what was most important. You know what he did? He fixed his marriage. You know what he did? He reconciled with the kids. You know what he did? He landed the plane. He's a pediatric kids brain surgeon now, and he loves it. Some of the stuff that's keeping you away from your biggest ambition isn't the thing that you think is keeping you away. It's something else. Let's just go down and figure what that is out and then make some moves on it. It's going to happen with authenticity. Find your dream. Let somebody know what it is. I had a kid named Aaron working for me at this law firm. He'd worked for me for years. And I asked him, buddy, what's your ambition? You know what he said? I want to be a lawyer. That's awesome. Here's the problem. He didn't have like 200 grand to spend on law school tuition, and he didn't have 3 years. He had 3 kids and a wife. So do you know what we did? We went to the state bar and we said, I've been teaching at Pepperdine for a decade and I'm pretty good at it. Can we teach him law school ourselves? We'll make a law school. We'll have one student there, Aaron. And you know what? It was like I did the Jedi thing because they said yes. For the next 3 years, all the lawyers that work with me, we taught them law school. You know what? Aaron passed. We made him give the valedictorian speech. He was actually last in the class too. But here's the deal. He had an ambition. He let somebody know what his ambition is. We took a genuine interest in him. That's what it means to land the plane. Not just in your life, but help people land the planes in their lives. And you'll find the kind of fulfillment that you're really looking for. People don't need information. I've got all the information I need. If somebody tells me there's 3 words for love in Greek, agape, phileo, I'm gonna hurl. I don't need to hear that anymore. What I need is to hear your story about somebody who loved you selflessly. I'll remember that forever. Tell your stories. Actually, be part of that story for somebody. Show up for them, listening to what their ambition is, helping them land the plane. Another woman that came to Dream Big, her name was Grace, and you know what her ambition was? She wanted to be a speaker. But here's the deal. She'd never been up on a stage with all the cameras pointed at her. And she just had never had a shot. Well, I was going to be speaking to 3,000 people a couple days later. So guess what? I invited Grace. I didn't ask for permission. I walked out on stage holding hands with Grace. And when I got in front of all the cameras, I stepped out of the frame and I said, go. You guys, she killed it. They're never going to have me back. But you know what she does now? She goes around speaking to people. She had an ambition. She made it known. She had the opportunity put in front of her. She landed the plane. So I say to you this, what's your big ambition? And how can we get that thing out into the world? Let's go do this thing. And you're going to need to quit a couple things. Another friend of mine is actually runs a $1 billion company. She left Dream Big. She got everybody together and she quit. She said, I'm done. Is that awesome? You don't have a $1 billion company. I don't care if you have 10 bucks in your pocket. What I want you to do is to know why you're doing what you're doing. Landing the plane means that. It's finding practices. It's going Grand Canyon with some routines and things in your life that you do weekly. For those of you that know me, you know I quit one thing every single Thursday. I actually had my moment at this law firm in Seattle. It was my law firm. I'd had this thing for 25 years. And I walked in to the conference room, got everybody together, and you know what I did? I quit. They said, how come? I'm like, it's Thursday. I quit stuff on Thursday. And I took the key off my ring and I gave it to a guy that'd been working for me for a decade. I said, it's all yours. You don't owe me anything. Now, you guys, that's a stupid economic decision, but it's an awesome new creation decision. Landing the plane means believing what Paul said. It's this: we are new creations. And if you keep doing all the old stuff you've been doing, you're not going to go Grand Canyon with that ambition. You're going to need to let go of a couple things to make a little bit of room for what's next. It would be like, remember a long time ago, we talked about collecting those leaves? What if I collected so many leaves, there's no more room in the basket? I'd actually have found some neat opportunities that wouldn't fit. You got to sometimes move some stuff out of your life so you can land the plane. And here's the last thing that I learned about landing the plane. When I was taking lessons to learn how to fly, you know, what they do is they take you up real high and they practice when your engine shuts off. It's a little terrifying. What they tell you to do, because there's no warning when this happens, they could just like stop. What you need to do is three things: pick, pitch, and point. I'll tell you what I mean. When everything stops, like it's just like not working, you've encountered a big setback, an ambition looks like it's not working, the first thing you need to do is pick where you're going to land this thing. And for us that believe in Jesus Christ, man, I'm just aiming for Jesus. I'm trying to get him in the window, continually aiming at him, making as many mid-course corrections, but decide in advance what you've picked. The second thing they teach you to do is to pitch. And a pitch is the attitude of the airplane. It's like either up or down. And when your engine stops, what you want to do is like pull back, right? Because Earth is not your friend, the whole gravity thing. But what you need to do is to pitch into it. Landing the plane means when there's a setback, to pitch into it, to lean forward. You've already picked where you're going to land. And the final thing is this: keep pointing at it. Fill the window with Jesus. Keep pointing at Jesus and surround yourself with a group of friends. You've developed a group of friends through this series that we've done. Man, you guys have gone deep with each other. Keep at it. I fly back and forth over the Midwest a lot. And when I look down at these beautiful cornfields, you'll see them run the tractors back and forth, and they have these discs behind them. You've seen those. And they go down about 18 inches. And they turn over all the soil. What forms 19 inches deep? It's called the plow pan. And it is as hard as concrete. It's the part that just never gets turned over. And what happens sometimes in our faith communities, we're talking about the top 18 inches. And what we need to do is get a little bit deeper than that. If you've seen a tractor, there's some that have these huge claws that are behind them. You know what those claws do? They bust through the plow pan. And what will happen is setbacks will bust through these plow pans. If you want your branches to go wide, you got to have roots that'll go deep. And that's what I hope has developed over these series of talks that we've had about what's an opportunity, what's an expectation, what's a setback, how do you take action? And we're at land the plane, go deep. And that's where it gets good. You guys, we're rebuilding the lodge right now. We are close, but we are not done. You know what we just did? We picked marble. And if you've seen these big slabs of marble, they have these veins that make them really interesting. Here's the crazy part. I was talking to the marble guy, and he said, what makes the slab of marble most unique is also its weakest point. I'm like, that'll preach. Some of the things that's made you very unique are actually your weakest point. I'm actually a really enthusiastic guy, but some of that can become my weakest point. And what we've done over this series to talk about authentically what we can do, the lifting from the knees, where we could say, I know where that's coming from. That's just a little Bobby Goff being insecure right now. And if you can be authentic enough with the people around you, you know where this is coming from. It's all part of landing the plane. What I'm going to do is end with this last story. We have a mailman on our street. His name is Art. Actually, truth be known, he stinks as a mailman. He's a great guy, but he's just not a detail guy. He just like, he tosses the mail everywhere. And we, all the neighbors meet, you know, in the middle of the street at 6 p.m. and we just sort it out ourselves. Well, we've been doing this parade on our block. We've been doing it for 25 years. I'm like older than dirt. And we've decided that we're going to honor Art because he told us he was going to retire. So we said, thank goodness. And we said, Art, will you be the grand marshal of our parade? So we got a convertible. We got 1,000 envelopes in the back. We said, Art, just do what you do every day. Just throw them everywhere. Well, 800 people who'd been getting lousy mail service for 20 years showed up to let Art know he was just so beloved. Sure, he was a lousy mailman, but he was a great guy. He was so moved by this outpouring of love and affection. He felt so honored. He called me up the next day. He said, Bob, I'm coming out of retirement. I'm like, no! You guys, land the plane. Is everything going to work out the way you hope? Heck no. Don't worry about it. You got a beautiful ambition. You're going to try to wed that with an even more beautiful opportunity that comes your way. Look at the limiting beliefs. What are the things, the lies that have been spoken over you that just weren't true anymore? You're going to, after doing that work, you're going to anticipate there'll be setbacks, but those aren't campsites. Those are you're actually your teachers. And you're going to sustain belief. You're going to keep your eyes fixed on Jesus and Jesus alone. Bust through the plow pan. You guys have been through enough. Let's let your roots grow deep, your branches go wide. And as Jesus said when he was talking about mustard seeds, give people rest. So you guys, you did it. You made it to the end. Landing the plane means finding an ambition, doing it in a group of people like you have, and then launching this thing into the world, seeing what happens to it. And I'm telling you, heaven is leaning over the rails. The promise of Scripture is this, that there's you looking out, but there's a great cloud of witnesses looking towards. And live into that with confidence. Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. So long.
Wow, wow, wow. I'm like tearfully so happy and sad at the same time. I don't even know what to say.
I think
That's awesome.
That's so good.
So thank you guys. Wow, I just want to watch that again. I'm so glad this is recorded. So I don't have to go buy all the sessions on the DVD. Thank you for sharing your copy, Suzanne. But I'm going to go back and watch this again, and more than one time, because I'm going to miss this guy. He's been my little pal in my pocket, my guy on my shoulder and encouraging, and all those things that he said are so true. And remember, the most impactful thing I think he said in this whole book was that God will burn down whatever he has to get to the truth of your life. And that's for you, Belinda, and for everybody. God was burning that down, and you kept putting the fire out and fighting. Let it burn, man. Let it burn, because there's better things ahead for you. And just burn that up and have a party over the ashes. You said that too, Francine, right? You're having a 5-alarm fire, and like we're going to throw s'mores over the ashes, right? Like, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, Belinda, I think it goes back to and when Bob talks about when you have seen God redeem a previous setback into something that moved you closer to your dreams, and how this affects you and your current. So I truly believe that this is a setback, but it's to pursue a bigger dream of yours.
Well, after this happened, I literally slept for like 2 months. And then by then it was, gardening time, which I live for. And I just kept in my husband's, he's the money cruncher. So, and it's hard living on one income when you're used to two. And basically we were finally empty nesters and could do things and travel and stuff. So anyway, so I'm getting that in 1 year too. And I'm in this year, I'm going, okay, God, what should I do next? I don't feel like I can go back to teaching right yet. What do I have? And one day I just said, okay, what do I have already that I can do something with? Shackley, you've been using them for 30 years. Why don't you share them with people? And,
Yeah.
But I tell you,
It's a teaching job. That's a teaching job.
But I'm not making any money, people. I'm not doing well. So it's been a struggle.
Well, Belinda, so one of the next activity that we're going to leave with is that we don't just stop here, right? Because it's going to be so easy for us to leave these ambitions and all the work we've done towards it. It will stop. Like, we're not gathering next week. So, oh, I guess that's done. And you forget about it, right? Because I know I am really good at that. I am really good at going so far and then being like, I'm not accountable. So it's in a pile to the side, right? So we
17
want
years
to,
on the remodel, right?
yeah,
It's gonna be
that's right,
17 years in a minute.
right.
Don't,
So I think it's really important that we move forward on our ambitions so that we can conquer these, landing that plane like Bob talked about. So moving forward, some of you already have partners. We have partners. And if you don't have a partner, or if you want to group with somebody else, but we need to keep ourselves accountable to move forward in our ambitions and that big dream or whatever it is. So this is what we like to do moving forward, is for you to talk to your partner, decide if you're going to meet weekly and moving forward in the ambition, so that you have setting your plan, continuing with your plan, I should say, so that you can meet that ambition. Because it's so easy just to stop here, and we don't want to do that. And we can discuss if we want to meet as a group and reconnect on where we're at. Because one of the questions that Bob asked is, where are we going to be in a year? Are you going to be in the same spot that you are right now? Because time flies by, right? And if we don't take those steps forward, we could be in the same spot that we are right now, right? Like, it's easy to sit. It's very easy. But to move forward takes a lot of ambition, and you got to throw it out there, right? You got to follow your plan. So moving forward, let's take a vote if you want to reconnect as a group in a month or a month or so, if you want to reconnect, and we can share our, yes, Susan?
We should set a time like the first Wednesday of every month or something like that.
she
Perfect.
reads my mind. We are good friends. That's what I said. I said, what about the first Wednesday of every month at 10:30? Let's see if we can at least do it in April. Let's take March off. We got Nutrition Month. We have a March plan of action. We have lots to do. We got to quit something tomorrow, right? So we have a lot of things going on in March, but let's try to meet the first Wednesday in April, and then we're not going to bite off any more than we can chew, right? So let's start
So
there.
that'd be April 7th.
Let's see how that goes. April 7th at 10:30, we'll meet again.
Central time.
Central time, 10:30. So same time, the first Wednesday of April, and we'll see how we've been doing. I'm excited to learn about the progress people have made. We've been picking at the scabs, right? It's been painful. And we've been picking things apart, and we're ready for like new healing and new adventures and new opportunities and new steps toward those dreams that we have. So you go, Nicole. I'm not taking over your part here.
No, I think that's excellent. So I think for the next steps that we reconnect with your partner and keep meeting weekly or whatever you decide is best to keep on your ambitions, your dreams forward, moving them forward. And then in a month, we can reconnect and we'll take 5 minutes a person, talk about what your dream is, the progress you made, and maybe your next step. We can lay that out as we move forward. How does everybody feel?
Like how you've been connected with your partner. Kate and I have been talking every week for the month of March, and we've been learning this and we've been learning that, and we've made these steps and this progress, whatever, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do it if the people don't want to meet, if your partner doesn't want to meet, if you don't have a partner, we can get you one. You can pair up and triple up. And
My partner kind of disappeared from this thing, so I need a partner.
What, Suzanne?
I said my partner is kind of not participated, so I need one that will. Okay,
so we can figure all that out. So if you have a partner need and you need connection with 1 or 2 other people or whatever, just raise your hand. We go, the squeaky wheel gets the grease over here. So raise your hand.
I'm squeaking.
Minds, and we're not going to shop around to give extra help because we're busy working on our own dreams. But if you need something, we'll make space for you. So just raise your hand on that. And then we have the raffle. Are you done, Nicole? Is that it?
Yes, I think that's good.
We don't practice these things ahead of time, It's just, so we have the book that we're going to raffle off, right? Does anybody?
I love that book. So great.
I own it. Do you own it, Suzanne?
Mhm.
And you own it, Nicole? So we're not in the drawing, so we can't win. Okay, so I'm gonna send it, I'm gonna give it to you, and we're gonna do the raffle, and then we're gonna do the closing prayer. Okay, so check this out. Those are all the people that made comments on
So you have a wheel of fortune?
our Facebook group. I made it into, you can Google Wheel of Names. You can do this for all your raffles. Whenever you have a raffle, just Google Wheel of Names and it comes up and you enter all your names and then you click in the center. Watch. It's so cool. We're going to pick our winner of the book. You're all in there. Promise. Watch. It's so cool. And listen, 'cause there's even applause.
Oh, fun. Yeah. Ooh, who is it? Julie.
Schmid.
Oh, Julie Schmid. That's awesome.
And there's
Yay.
confetti and there's applause, but my volume's not too loud on my computer.
Yay, Julie.
But that's really fun. So you can always do a wheel of names to do your raffles and give prizes away. And I love the confetti and the applause at the end because it makes it more fun. So I'm going to send the book to my good friend Julie. I met her a long time ago on a cruise or a trip, not a cruise, on a trip. She fills my cup. My first Shaklee dream trip I ever earned in 2009, I met Julie Schmid, and she is really super fun. So that is great. Congratulations, Julie. And then, does anybody have anything else before we wrap it up with our closing prayers?
I do. I have a request to include in a prayer. I have a first level sales leader who's from the Dominican Republic, and she is an angel to everybody that she comes in contact with. But she always gets shit on her head, pardon my French. And the latest one is somebody's opened a bank account with her social security number in a bank that she does not work in. So pray that this all gets unraveled and none of her stuff gets compromised, because she doesn't have a whole lot to begin with. And what she has, she gives away to everybody.
What is her first name?
Siomi.
Oh, Siomi. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We will raise her up today. Dear God, we raise up Siomi to you, and we pray that you'll be with her through these trials of the banking issues. And we pray for a smooth outcome where she does not endure any financial damage and any violation of her identity through all of this. We pray that you keep her heart open and generous, and that she continues to give to others as she has. And we thank you also, Lord, for everyone who has gathered together for our book club these last 5 weeks. We thank you for everything that we've learned in this study. And we thank you for the beautiful and unique dreams that you have given to us. We ask you for the power, the courage, the wisdom, and above all, the perseverance to keep dreaming big as we move forward and change the world by showing your love to everyone we meet. Amen. You guys,
Thank you,
Amen.
Pam,
Thanks,
so much
Pam.
for
So
putting
much.
it together.
I hope it was
That's
good.
awesome.
You can send out the comment in the Facebook group with your rating of the club on a 1 to 10. Fill out the questionnaire. There isn't one.
Okay, Bob.
The way it is.
It's all fives.
It's read chapter 31.
It's
the homework.
make a pie. So
Wash
off
your
we
car.
go. Apple pie for me, and I'm going to make a pie and celebrate in your honor. So thank you guys, and we'll see you in a month. And I'm excited to see where we move forward between now and April 7th. So
Yes.
carry on, and if you need me, call me. If you need Nicole or Suzanne or your partner, or you need anyone, just reach out, because we're all here for each other, all for one and one for all, right? Woo!
Yay.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, Pam.
Thanks, you guys. Have a good day.
See ya.